Welcome to the quietest ones in the room with your host, Trey. Before I get started, I have to say it once again. Just the mere fact that you have clicked onto this video and you are listening to the sound of my voice, you by far are the most intelligent people on the face of the planet. So once again, thank you for joining me. Hope your day's going well. So anyway, I get on YouTube and various other platforms, and I see this topic over and over and over again. And it's usually a headline or the title of a video, something like, "Why are people so poor? The middle class is getting erased. The rich and wealthy are exponentially growing their stockpile of money as the inequality gap of wealth continues to occur." And I see these videos. What can you do to turn $1,000 into $1 million? I see videos like, buy this stock and ride it to the moon. I see video after video about protesting for equality. I see video after video about discussions about inclusion. I see video after video of people who are fed up, who are poor, who are middle class, and I also see people who are rich and they're fed up. I hear people begging for money online. I hear everything from bottom to top in between. And this conversation that I want to have with you today is, why do we have an issue in this country as it pertains to the wealthy and the have-nots? It's simple. It's always been simple. You know, before I say, and it's actually obviously on the video thumbnail, but before I get into it, what I want to say is this idea that greed doesn't control the lives of so many people at a certain point, especially when they begin to accumulate wealth, would be asinine to ignore. Even when you're hearing people who are rich and they're telling you, I'm rich, listen to me, I have the answers, tax us. That's not enough. See, the real issue is that if you go back in history, the real issue is that kings controlled government largely at some point. And kings accumulated all the wealth. And these kings and these queens had rule over posterity, meaning they had rule over their constituents at the time, their servants at the time, their people. They had until the foreseeable future that they would rule over those people, and their children's children and their children's children would rule over their children's children's children. And so it was a never-ending cycle of, because I hold this title and my heredity has been chosen to lead a people, we get it all. And eventually in humanity, people got fucking sick and tired of it and revolted and took down many of these governments led by kings. We still have some today, and they'll get their reckoning one day. But anyway, let me stay on point. The point is that no longer, especially in America, are we ruled by kings and queens. But what does rule is hereditary wealth. Hereditary wealth is the reason we have poverty in this country. And it's a simple fix. All we would need to do is we would need to have a government that taxes the wealthy at a very high clip. And all we would need is a government that would tax a state. See, we have an estate tax that many wealthy people are able to pass wealth down generation after generation and pay little to no taxes on it. If you do your own research, you'll see that time and time again, after each time a new president came into power, that wealth tax has become less and less over time. And it makes sense because people who weren't wealthy at one point and step into a little bit of wealth, naturally, because they see everybody else playing the hereditary wealth game, they decide to play it for themselves too. And they want to pass them off to their kids, for their kids to have something to pass off to their kids. But therein lies the problem. It's everyone, even if you are poor today, if you got into the wealth game, are you willing to forfeit the concept of hereditary wealth? See, I believe that if you're wealthy in this country, it's because of all the efforts of the people around you making that possible. See, all the resources belong to all of us, but we're not largely taught that. It's mine, me, I did it, I'm intelligent, etc. But many people who are wealthy understand that they did it by using you. And when they have it all, they don't want to give it up. But if we had a government that forced it, that, let's say, after a wealthy individual died, that a large percent of that estate would go back into the system for the people. That land that was acquired for business purposes, after they die, it would go back to the people. This would take care of so many social programs. This would take care of a new person coming along with better ideas and new ingenuity to come along and do a better job and be more productive with the assets that have been acquired by the wealthy. Because when the wealthy get rich, they gridlock you out. You're out. And slowly but surely, them and their buddies, time and time again, pass that wealth on to their children. And you even hear things like, oh my goodness, no, in America, oh, the wealthiest individuals in this country are first generation wealth creators. Stop it. Go look at their grandfathers, the grandmother, their aunts, their uncles, mom and dad. How many times do we hear story after story about said self-made millionaire, now billionaire, who came from a rich family or a middle-class family who was able to give them a couple $100,000, who might have worked in spaces where they had a lot of political clout to leverage to benefit their child. Now, I am not against individuals helping their children, but what I am against is hereditary wealth, because that's what causes poverty. Hereditary wealth is the reason we have poverty. And all this stuff belongs to all of us. We're supposed to share it. But that's not how it works in this country. And I see video after video about how we should address these issues and what the problem truly is. And to me, it's always been simple. All you need to remember is that the sole issue of poverty is hereditary wealth. It's not complex. They know it. Some of us know it. We ignore it. They act like it's not going on. And then sadly, when many of us find a way, as I mentioned earlier, when many of us find a way to get into the room, we decide we're going to play the same fucking game because we don't want our children and their children and so on and so forth to ever have to experience poverty. But in all actuality, we have a government that was structured in a manner where hereditary wealth was circumvented through policy, we would have a better country. And the question of what so many people fight for today, which is equality, I find it so interesting. I'm like, everybody's talking about equality this, equality that. And it's like, to what? And let's be honest, we know what people mean, equality to white males. But interestingly, I don't think that that's the goal. Isn't the goal not equality, but to be better? To do better? Like once you get into that position of power and dominance, don't you want to be more compassionate, more giving, more caring, more supportive, have less wars, take care of the needy? I mean, isn't that the goal? Because when you want to be equal and you get into those positions with those people that you ask for equality, you end up getting what comes to them. All the same issues, the repeat cycle of the same poor versus the rich. But there are better ways. We can think of better ways of doing things than asking for something as not effective as equality. What about better? I don't see any protest about better. So it's alarming to me that we find ourselves in 2025 as the wealth gap is widening, that we're not addressing the real issue as to why it occurs. And once again, it's hereditary wealth. And we should make it illegal to be able to pass extremely large sums of money through generations. I mean, how many of you listening right now have a granddad, grandma, father, mother, uncle, someone in the family you can reach out to and borrow or get a gift of $100,000 to get your first home? Or did you do that for your first home? Or will you do that for college? See, you might be one of those people listening who have that ability. But then what about the ones listening who don't have that ability? Why don't you? Why don't you have that ability? Oh, it's because my grandmother, whoever's in my family, they were lazy. They didn't take care of things like they needed to, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. No, it's not that simple. The people who have and the people who don't have, it's always been a matter of what are the resources and who gets to control those resources. And so again, Maybe you're that person, you can reach out to someone and you can get that money for your first down payment on your home, that money for your business. But then maybe you're not that person. But then if we reverse the role and now you're the person who didn't have the ability to do such a thing, and now you have it, do you now justify it? Do you justify the passing down of wealth over and over and over again? So now you're the one that gets the house, and they're the one that doesn't get the house, maybe have to live in an apartment. You're the one that buys the luxury vehicle. You're the one that gets to live in the neighborhood that, because you're purchasing now, the prices all over the place are rising. It's an endless cycle. It's an endless cycle. But through taxation and implementing laws that ensure the wealthy cannot continue to pass wealth through generation after generation through a state, that's how we would handle it. It's got to come back. It's got to come back into the pool of the people who make up the country. And I guarantee with that change, these homeless people we see in these cities, you wouldn't see that. The food insecurity we have, you wouldn't see that. The ghettos, no. See, it's the greed. Once you start erasing the greed out of the population, you start to realize, oh my God, like there's so much to go around. And I know to you, this might sound idealistic. It might sound utopian. And if you believe that, what solutions do you have to the problems that we have going on? And so it's just food for thought. And I've been thinking about this for some time. And I think it's a serious issue that if not resolved, the pain is just going to increase even further. And there's only one solution that people often come to when things get worse and worse in this regard as it pertains to wealth and people don't have what they need. You end up having revolutions. See, because the people who are wealthy and lead a country, they don't get to lead and rule forever. It's an impossibility. But if we can find a way to resolve some of these things, we can coexist peacefully together for much longer. So anyway, thank you for checking this out. Please share your thoughts in the comment section. Maybe you agree, maybe you disagree. But as always, please like, share, and subscribe. And until next time.